Well, hello. My name is Patrick DeFreitas. I am living currently in Portland, Oregon. Currently, right now, I work at Intel Corporation as a chief of staff for our graphics department. I actually grew up in New York, Brooklyn, and Long Island, but I was actually born in Georgetown, Guyana. So I am West Indian. So a very strong Caribbean background. Growing up, I was always wanted to be in film and television, but never really in front of the camera. I was always, I knew right from the beginning, like my place was behind the scenes, but to help sort of allow for the talent for those individuals to sort of bring the best out of them. I went to Boston University, and that's where I got my film and television degree. And I packed up my bag. It's like those old school stories where you're like, I'm packing up my bag and I'm moving to LA. And that's literally what I did. Like this young Black kid out of New York with just barely any connections in Los Angeles, but I moved out there and I actually stayed with a Boston University alum, and she was in the music business for a while. So she allowed me to like crash in her Santa Monica pad for like a couple of months until I found my first place. But what was interesting about, I think, my journey is that I always felt like I was slightly different than what the other students and kids were doing. I felt like, well, in order for me to make it in the film and television industry, I've got to work a little bit harder. I've got to make sure I do things. So spring breaks, I didn't have spring breaks. Spring breaks, I was going through old school because the internet was still relatively new, like the books, the alumni books, calling them and be like, hey, internship, film internship, intern. So I had like internships, and I worked at MGM and HBO in New York. And then that's how I made my connections in Los Angeles. So believe it or not, looking back, it was relatively, I would say, easy because when I got to LA, I already had a job. I was working, like I got there and I was working at a talent and literary agency, like right off the bat. I did interviews at the different agencies, but I already had one landed. So I was a little unique case. And it allowed me to really understand just contracts and how the industry worked. And from directors to talent to and the agents, and understand how their thought process and how projects came in. But that fire of always trying to help others never went away. And even though night after night, when I would call home and I would tell friends, back on the East Coast what I was doing, I'd be like, oh, I'm not going out. I've got like 8 scripts to get through before the end of the night, right? And like my little studio apartment had like piles, it just smelled like scripts, but it was full of joy and happiness to kind of see and understand these stories and what these people were going through. I saw technology really starting to sort of weave its way into film and television. And that I thought was really exciting because there was this sort of inertia that was behind it, it was creating in terms of how to fold tech into creating new experiences that people didn't see and didn't hear before, create new worlds that would be possible but through models and animation, and it just took on a different life on its own. And even though I love the film and television industry, and I worked at Overbook for a period of time, and I met some really great people. And Will Smith, people always ask me, oh, is he how he is on television? And I'm 100%, that's him, the nicest person, and then I do wish him the best. It was a fantastic experience, but for me, my journey continued, and that actually took me back into grad school. So because I felt like, okay, my background is in film and television, how do I make this crossover into tech? I got into Cal, part of the consortium, MBA consortium, which is a fantastic organization in the US. It was learning this new craft that I was getting into, but also remembering and still loving the fact that film and television and entertainment was still my passion, that level of that creativity that wouldn't leave me. So I kind of focused my energy in those areas where in the corporate world, and actually interned for Intel, like between my first and second year. And then when school wrapped up, I had a choice between Intel and Apple. And actually, I went with Intel at the time because I felt like they wanted me. At the time when I joined them, there was this level of discipline that I really liked about it. I landed eventually in the organization that focuses on ISVs and developers in gaming and content creation. So as I said, like I never left entertainment. To me, there was film, there's TV, there's games, there's content creation, and to me, it's this one big portfolio because that passion never left. I couldn't just sort of say, "Hey, I'm going to work on servers," and like completely separate, what I found energizing. I love working with the indies, the up and coming developers. I used to do some work, believe it or not, like in Argentina, in Brazil, in Mexico, just because when you meet these developers and they put their all into it, they leave their jobs, they concentrate 100%, and they have to make it. Like there's no alternative. They've got to make it. And the reason why I'm so attracted to that, because that was me when I left New York and went to Los Angeles and went to the film. What's exciting about my current role at Intel is that I'm a Black chief of staff, that is supporting, a VP in an organization where we're trying to make history in the gaming and graphics industry. We are trying to roll out Intel's, discrete graphics in the marketplace, and we've getting a lot of support from ISVs, from developers, from just other folks who want to see that change. And it's very rare to get that in a corporation. I'm excited to see where we go, but I would never change anything that I've done and the sort of the roads that I've traveled. If someone said to Patrick, if you like talk to yourself when you were much younger, would you have made the same decision? Because here was the thing with me, there was that sense of, am I good enough? Is this right? I always had that sort of, do I belong? And needing that reassurance. And Apple, what they wanted was, and what they loved was my background in film and television. So they wanted me to focus on like Final Cut Pro. And I was like, oh, I know this forwards backwards from like post-production in school. So that was like a no-brainer. But Intel was something different. It was just different. It's like I felt like I'm familiar with that, but maybe I should pursue different. Now, if you look at the stocks now and where they are, I said, Patrick, you probably could be retired right now. So you chose the harder path in life, and there's lessons to be learned there. So I accept that decision. What I would tell to any, Black, gay, just minority, anyone that feels as though I can't do it, I understand where that's coming from. And you want it to go away as you hit your accomplishments. But I think if you just maintain that drive, you actually use that I can't do it as fuel to test yourself, to believe that you can accomplish it. And it's authentic accomplishments that really satisfy the soul. And you just have to continue to sort of believe in yourself, as well as find people that bring that level of positivity. I think what you start realizing, at least I did as I got older, and what I would even tell the younger Patrick is really pay attention to the people that you hang out with. Even though I'm saying like I did it, I left New York and I went to, there were always people with me. I had, alumni with me. I had people from the industry I always had people supporting me. And I felt like that's what's most important about sort of pursuing that next stage in life, whatever it may be.
Well, Patrick, that is amazing. You covered all the bases. I had to ask you nothing.
Was that okay?
It was amazing.
Okay.
It was amazing. You just, I was like, watch Patrick work. I mean, I could see why. I mean, you're amazing. So thank you.